Welcome to this session. My name is Dr. Gikadi, your lecturer for BIT4110 Information Consultancy. In today's session, we are going to focus on a topic on information consultancy, and specifically, we are going to be looking at an introduction to information and consultancy. Those are two concepts that combined to make one, and for purposes of this session, we are going to be understanding exactly what those concepts are and how they are relevant to us. As we begin, I want first to introduce the course objectives, why we are doing this, so that we have a focus on what we want to learn, including in this unit, including what we are doing in this session. So the first objective of this course is to gain knowledge on information consultancy practices. And in that, we shall be understanding the key concepts about information, what's consulting, and why it's relevant. The next objective is on being able to improve your ability as a learner to understand the key factors and issues that are relevant in consultancy engagement. So you need to understand the key issues, key factors, and key aspects that affect consultancy engagement, including relationships that could be conceptual or practical. We also have an aim to improve your ability to present analysis, of issues and organizational problems in a concise, accurate, clear, and interesting manner from a consultancy perspective. You will be developing those abilities through the course. So we also need to gain experience on how to conduct consultancy in a practical field. We shall be doing relevant exercises, relevant field work that will give us that understanding. We also need to gain, or we shall be putting effort to gain exposure to processes and interventions that are related to information consultancy. Processes and interventions that are related or that are relevant in information consultancy. We shall also be learning how to match your strength, individual strength, weaknesses, and likes or generally personalities with the goals and skills that are required in consultancy for you to be a relevant person and for you to be able to meet the demands of the industry. So we shall be having to engage with the areas that enable us to understand yourself as a consultant, your personality, your strengths, your weaknesses, and how these are going to influence your capability and your delivery as a consultant. So those are the key objectives we have. As we move on, we shall be covering some of those today, and why we are saying we are covering that already is because by understanding these concepts, you start discovering yourself. You already have maybe know your weaknesses, your strength. You already have some knowledge, and now our focus here in this course is to convert the knowledge we have and the one that we shall have acquired by the end of your program as an expert in the field of information science and information systems, to convert that knowledge into consultancy. So let's see what is consultancy. What is consultancy? So consultancy is a professional engagement whereby you as a person, or if you are consulting for a company, you are able to give expert advice on a particular subject. So it's a professional engagement whereby as a person, you are expected to give the expert advice on a particular subject to a particular organization. So consultancy is very specific. A consultant usually is an expert in a specific field and has wide knowledge in that subject. So you have the subject matter at your fingertips. So in our case here, we are experts in information systems. So we are saying you'll be providing knowledge related to your area of expertise as an advisor, a professional advisor. We are also saying a consultant should be in a position to influence others. You should be able to influence others, an individual, or a group, or an organization. So it is not just advising, but you should have, through your advice and how you convince, how you communicate, we are able, or we should be able to influence. It should also be able, through consultancy, you should be able to bring about change, or to provide power that is able to make people change or convince them to change. But as we say this, note that consultancy has no power, or a consultant, you don't change how things occur. You have no direct power. The only power you have is to change people how they think, so that they change how they do things. So you have no direct influence to make an organization, the person you are consulting for, to make your client adopt what you are advising on. So the only influence you have is to change how they see things, is to convince them to adopt your thinking, to adopt your advice, and this time we are saying is a professional advice. So that's how we can define a consultancy. And let's continue. What do consultants do? Now this time, we are to you as an expert, as the consultant, as a person, as the expert in the subject that you are consulting for. So what do consultants do? So we are saying you are giving some help in form of an advice, and this help could be focusing on some content, on a process, or it could be a structure of how a task is done. So you are focusing on that, or series of tasks. And when you are a consultant, also note you are not responsible for doing the task itself, but you are supposed to help those who are doing that task. You are not responsible for doing the task itself, nor are you answerable for the outcome in how they do it. But your responsibility is to advise, and what is more important, how effectively are you able to advise? How effectively are you able to communicate that advice, so that your client gets the advice in the right manner, in the right time? We shall be looking at those aspects so that then they take the responsibility to implement. So you don't implement the advice yourself, but you guide others, you help others to implement. So at any time you are consulting, note that you are trying to bring about change. You are trying to bring about change. You are trying to improve a process. So a consultant is not just doing the obvious, not telling people what they should do and how they should do it. It should be something that has some weight, or that's sufficient to bring about change or to improve a situation. And we are saying you have no control of the implementation. The only control you have is because you have the power to convince, the power to communicate effectively. That's the only power you have, but you are not the implementer. So you need to package that information, that advice, in a way that it can bring about change. It can have some aspect that improve how things are being done. So for you to be effective as a consultant, to have some results, it means that what you advised on must be bringing positive change for that matter, and must also be able to improve things how they are done. And now, when we say we improve, what are we improving? Remember, in this course, we need to think about an organizational perspective, from an organizational perspective. What is organization meant to do? And what they're doing is what we'll be seeking to help them improve. So we need to remind ourselves at this point that every organization has goals, has objectives. As they seek to achieve these objectives, that is now when they will need your help. And your help is meant to make them improve in terms of effectiveness and efficiency. So you are helping them to improve in terms of effectiveness and efficiency. And if we define the term effectiveness from an organizational perspective, we are saying they have a goal. So they are strategic, they have objectives. They have set how much profit they want to make. They have set maybe another objective, how much they want their customers to be satisfied or to be at convenience, how much they want to improve the decisions they make. So when they have these objectives, then we are saying in terms of effectiveness as one of the things you are improving, you will be able to bring them closer or to support them to move closer to achieve those goals. A simple example, if they had set to improve customers' experience by 20% in the course of this year, then it would mean that when you come in with your consultancy in how they deal with customers, how they handle customers, they are now going to be close to achieving the set goal, the 20% that they sought to improve. So they are going to be closer to realizing their target. So effectiveness is the extent to which you realize your target. So you are helping them to get closer or to realize that target. So another aspect or dimension of where you improve is through efficiency. Efficiency means the ease with which you are able to achieve things, the ease with which you are able to achieve a certain task or to deliver a certain service. So if they have been trying to reach out to their customers to deliver a service, if it's a bank, in this case, a bank that one of their tasks is to support customers withdraw their money or access their money. So in terms of efficiency, you can support a bank to increase how much how easily a customer can access their money by bringing some efficiency or by suggesting an enhancement that can improve that efficiency. And that would mean that for example, we can say we add mobile banking if it was not one of our services. So when we introduce mobile banking, it means now customers are at more ease to access their money than they would do without mobile banking. So a consultant has given that advice that mobile banking is going to increase our efficiency by allowing easy access to money in terms of delivering or enhancing customer service. So that's what we are saying, bringing about change that's improvement. Going on, we are saying also a consultant may be working within a firm where you are your internal staff. You are providing that consultancy within, you are in that division. Or you could be external where you are outsourced. And when you're external, it could be you are engaged by a firm or you're engaged by being self-employed. So there are two key types of consultancy, if you want to call them types, internal or external. So we shall be exhausting that idea or those types later. Now, continuing with what consultants do, we are saying they are able to share their expertise, or they are paid to be able to share this expertise, this knowledge they have as they support organizations achieve their goals or solve problems. When we talk about solving problems in organizations, it has two dimensions. So you could be solving problems because there is an issue at hand, something not working. Or a problem could also mean there is room for improvement. So when we talk about problems, it's not something that is broken always. It could be there is an exploited potential, there is an optimal process. So problems may take any of those two dimensions. And these are critical aspects that we shall be exhausting later on what it entails to be a consultant, because one of the key capabilities, you must be able to see those problems. for you to be really relevant. You must be able to see what is not obvious. Those are the gaps that could be existing, either as issues, broken areas to be fixed, or as suboptimal processes. So we are saying they are able to support organizations to do that. They work in advisory capacity, we said, and therefore they are not necessarily responsible for the outcomes. So you are an advisor, and what happens after you advise? You don't carry the burden. The only burden you have as a consultant is to make sure that your consultancy or the knowledge that you gave is really efficiently delivered. Once you deliver that advice, the rest is to the process owner to implement and take responsibility from there. So consulting could be in a wide range of fields or various areas. At this point, we want to focus on consultancy that relates to our discipline, that relates to our expertise. So there are various types of consultancy services. It's good to know them when they are, even when they are not in our immediate area, because sometimes our organizations become, or expertise become multidisciplinary, and knowledge has sometimes no boundaries. So it's important to know the other types of consultancy, because you could be interacting with them, or they could influence what you're doing as a consultant. So one area of consultancy is managing or management consulting, mainly dealing with business-related processes, which also affect us in information science or information technology. Then we have another type, that's where we belong, that's information consulting or information technology consulting. So we shall be focusing on that, or what we do after this will be tailored to information consultancy, because that's our major area of expertise. But we need to be familiar with other areas. So then we have strategic consulting. It is something we also interact with as information consultants. We have human resource consulting for human resource specialists. We have marketing consulting and financial consulting. So these are the common types that you find that they are within organizations, or organizations need these types of consulting. Being in information consulting and being our focus, it's important to note at this point, most of the other areas has effect, or we interact with them, because IT is close-cutting, information is close-cutting. So marketing consulting is influenced or requires some information consulting. Financial consulting, the same. Strategy consulting. So we are close-cutting, and therefore we cannot ignore the other areas, but our major focus is in information consulting. So what are the areas of information consulting? Like I've said, there are various areas. It could be one area, if we narrow down to what is key or to what is common, is management consulting. So management consulting within or as a subset of information consulting. We also have strategy consulting as a subset of information consulting. We also have what we can call IIT or information consulting. So let's look at each of them and see what they mean to us, and therefore they will be of key relevance in terms of enabling our consultancy services as information specialists. So managing or management consulting, it focuses on how an organization operates or works to achieve its goals. So remember, you have various aspects of management or various functions of management, from planning to coordinating, control, among others. So as information consultants, we are involved in supporting the management functions in an organization. We are involved. So we need to take that our one area of focus. When we become, or when we start thinking like a consultant, Then we also have strategy consulting. So in this category, we focus, or we shall focus on identifying the directions, the goals, and the growth of the organization. So strategy consulting. So what is strategy? So we have had this word many times: strategy, strategic management. Strategy here means it is not day-to-day process, it's not day-to-day business. It's about trying to understand what the organization want to become and where they want to be. Where do they want to go? What are the targets? So in strategy, or the term strategy means being able to define what you want to achieve from the outset. You set a goal, you set a strategic plan. Where do you want to be in the next 5 years as an organization? So you support them to define that scope, to be able to achieve that target they are setting as a strategy. What do they want to achieve in a defined period? That is proactively done. And then how will they achieve that, and what results are they expecting? So strategic consulting will involve seeing ahead, and how they are going to do that, the processes and activities they shall be engaging, and how much results are they expecting out of those efforts. So that's what we shall focus on in strategy consulting. So your consultancy could take that form. It may also take the form of information and IT consulting, directly involving our technical skills, the skills we have. So in information consulting, you want to help those organizations on how to be able to use technology to achieve their goals more effectively and more efficiently. So here specifically, it calls for application of our technical skills in IT. How can they use technology in order to achieve their goals? So that's what we are calling the 3 dimensions that we may have in consulting as experts in information science or in IT. So in the diagram here, I have a scope, and we are calling it a typical scope because it may vary depending on times, depending on the industry. But typical means what could be cross-cutting. So this diagram defines what could be your areas of involvement, what could be relevant to you as an information consultant. So we have you could be involved in the area of IT system development. You could, where you are directly dealing with the technical component, like we have said, in IT consulting. It could also be involving your services, or they could be required in outsourcing services, whereby you are part of advising organizations on what they can outsource, including IT-related outsourced services like cloud computing. So you could be giving outsourcing advice. For example, you may be advising, instead of investing in very sophisticated storage, how you back it up, how you deal with outages. So why don't you outsource a service in terms of fascio storage, fascio servers that have redundancy distributed across to avoid engaging in a lot of infrastructural requirement within. So you outsource. So you could be giving such an advice. It could be about engineering, asset management, or how you manage infrastructure. So you could be giving an advice on how an institution or an organization can manage this aspect. And when you're advising, remember, we are saying ourselves we are in information consulting. So the kind of product you are delivering is information-based. So it could also take the form of being in finance or finance division. So you could also get involved because as being an information expert, information technology expert, you could be a tool in financial services. So you give advice on how technology can support finance financial services or delivery of financial services. Again, you could be consulting in the area of pure management, where we said your advice is targeted to support managerial processes, functions of management. So that is what that diagram describes. So your advice at the bottom there, we are saying it could be bringing a change in strategy, it could be about change management, it could be affecting how people communicate, corporate communication, and other operations, etc. So that's how we can explain that diagram. So that so far that we have explained is the concept of consultancy. And remember, our focus is on information and consultancy. So let's look at the other aspect of information. We are saying we are consulting in the field of information. So what is information? What is information? That's our product, that's our deliverable. It is in the form of information. So here there are many definitions for information depending on the context that you are defining it. So one aspect or one definition, it can take the form of knowledge that's communicated or received concerning a particular fact or circumstance or an issue, knowledge that's communicated or received. So we can define information as that. Then we can also define information that knowledge, the findings of a study or a research can also be referred to as knowledge. So what you deliver after doing a study, after doing a research. Information can also be defined as knowledge, definite knowledge that's acquired or supplied about an entity, about a process. So something specific, definite about an entity or a process. So when you talk about information, also note that it can also be looked at, you are able to collect data, and that data is then converted or you package it in a more meaningful manner through manipulation to make or to come up with an output that's more meaningful. So it could also involve collecting facts, data, and then converting that data, manipulating that data to become more meaningful. And at the end, what is now more meaningful is what we shall call information. So now in information consulting from the field of IT and information science, all those aspects will combine to form what will be our deliverable, what we are calling information consulting. So information consulting, we are saying it's applied in a professional context and in other areas, or sometimes it could be referred to as information management, information consultancy, information technology consultancy. So all those terms can be used interchangeably to refer to what we are calling information consultancy. So it could be called information management consultancy, it could be called information technology consultancy in terms of referring to what we are calling ourselves information consultants. Information consultancy or consulting is an interactive process. It is an interactive process in which you as an information professional are partners with an organization to offer input, and to offer input that is useful in enhancing business process or informing decision-making processes. So you partner with an organization or professionals in that organization to provide input that is useful to their processes, that is useful in their decision-making processes. So that is your entry point. So you are interacting with the client to offer input that is delivered as information in a way that is going to influence their processes positively to affect how they make decisions. And we said the ultimate goal is to improve effectiveness and efficiency. That's what we have said earlier. So at this point, if we recollect what we have said so far, what is the relevance of information consultancy? What is the relevance? Why do you need it? So one relevance, or why it's important, is that it is able to bring about active partnership with specific process owners within an organization in order to fill the gaps, in order to provide relevant advice towards filling those gaps. So it is relevant because the assumption here is that there could always be gaps and or problems, which we said problems could be that there is something suboptimal, not 100% to the best that can be achieved, or there could be things that are broken to be fixed. There is a real issue at hand. So that is why it's relevant. One other thing is that in information consultancy, we are emphasizing on extensive interaction between you and your client. So it's not that you package somewhere in an envelope some information in a digital format and you deliver. So it must be an interactive process, extensive. And therefore, the organization, the client is depending on you, on your advice to move the organization forward. Information consulting has helped organizations, leading organizations, to transform their business, and in the first place, they are able to transform their business objectives. Sometimes you have objectives not well aligned, not well defined in the first place. So information consultancy has been found to be relevant because it has been instrumental in transforming the way organizations define their objectives and the way they are able to align them and the way they are able to achieve those objectives through the ideas you give as innovative solutions. So we are using the word innovative because we agreed that in consultancy, you are not giving the obvious. You are not telling people how they should be able to organize their computer lab, how to organize or how to create a good learning environment. You are telling them more enhanced, more innovative ideas that could really bring real change. So it's not about telling people the obvious, the expected, the basic rules. It's about something creative, innovative, that what they cannot see or what cannot be easily seen. So at this point, to be more close to understand what is really consultant is about, let's look at examples or lessons that may make an examples of lessons that may make an organization engage in consultancy or engage consultants. What may make you as an organization, as a person who is entitled to deliver service, engage a consultant. So now, in this case, if we assume we are the consultant, why would they need us? So one lesson or one example is that the consultancy could be needed to provide shortcut to know-how, to knowledge, shortcut to knowledge, to information that does not exist in that organization, in that firm. So you are expected to provide a shortcut or to give them a solution or that knowledge. So they need you. If they want to know how do we manage a new service we are introducing, how do we even manage, we have recently outsourced a service of external storage, of virtualized storage. How are we going to manage that? We don't have the knowledge on how to handle that process. So then you'll be giving them, and that's why it's being called a shortcut, because they want to be filled for that gap. They want that know-how is what they want to gain from you. The other reason could be that you are needed to provide a professional service that does not exist in the organization. To provide a professional service that does not exist in the organization, or that is needed for a specific period of time. So people could hire you as a consultant to provide about a professional service. They want a call center, an automated call center, and because it doesn't exist and they need that service. So you'll be outsourced to offer that service or to advise how it should happen. Where do they get the service? How do they manage it? How do they create an effective contract with the service provider, etc. It could also be a service maybe needed for a specific period of time. That's another reason why we consult. Something we don't need every day as an organization, something that is not their core business, so they can decide to outsource a service, to be outsourcing regularly or periodically when required. So to provide, another reason or example is to provide solutions to specific challenges and situations, to provide solutions to specific challenges and solutions. So there could be a challenge, for example, that there is a lot of emerging cybercrime, hacking of data, maybe. So now you look for a consultant, an expert in data security to be able to support you in managing those security issues, those security challenge. It could be there is a situation that is introducing a new vulnerability, a new risk. So you look specifically for a consultant to support you. And because we said a consultancy is not part of the necessarily day-to-day business, is something that is supposed to bring some additional support. So it could be a special situation, special challenge, etc. So if we continue with that, we are saying that another reason could be you would like to get a consultant, if you're an organization, to validate the ideas that you already have or that have been created. What does validation mean here? You want to be able, if you have established a process, a new process, you have established a call center that you outsource somewhere, you want to get a consultant in that service to be able to validate, to ensure that what you have will really be effective. So you have already planned for it, you have acquired the required infrastructure, but now you want somebody to approve, to assess that what you have is really going to be effectively working for you. So they validate. So it's something that has already been developed, has already been set up. They are coming to verify. That's what we are calling validation. So a consultant who is a specialist in the subject matter could be important to ensure everything is well placed, everything is well thought and well aligned. So also, you may also have to have the consultancy that relates to facilitating search for ideas and solutions within existing team members. So to facilitate search for ideas and solutions within existing team members, all staff. Sometimes organizations, when you want to introduce change, to bring new thinking, to bring or to make that change become felt and well thought, you bring the consultant to support the team that you already have internally or that's doing the service to be able to organize the ideas better, to be able to have a clear framework for implementation. So those ideas could be a framework on how they are going to implement the new change they have thought about. If, for example, you are a bank, you are introducing facial banking, it could be mobile banking. So you already have those services in terms of, or you have acquired them in terms of infrastructure, but then you still need to go further and get an expert to liaise with your team or the team implementing that project to be able to search for ideas, to refine the ideas they have in order to really make that solution well informed. as they move into the future, as they move into full operationalization of that process. So you would need an expert advice in form of consultancy. And remember, when we say we are bringing consultancy to validate, to join those who can already do something related to that. Why? Because we want very specialized, optimal advice. We want that top-notch expert just to be sure things are working and are going to work well to the optimum. Also, it's important to note that when consultants work for you, we shall be seeing that they bring one great advantage. Their work, being consultants, they are able to be fairly up to date with the current trends, current technologies. So as you engage them, you are able to get the latest trends. You are able to understand the market because you are not operating in your own island as a firm. So that's why you need an external mind. That's why you need a top-notch expert whose focus is just doing what you want to do in the best way possible. That's the work of the consultant. So to facilitate, another example, it could be you want, or the consultancy is required to facilitate or to create and implement methodologies and systems that enhance efficiency and organization as a whole. We already talked about efficiency, effectiveness. So you want them maybe not even to bring or to suggest any buying of new infrastructure, but you want them to advise how do you change the procedures you use, the methodologies. How do your system look like and how can it be re-engineered? So they could be able to facilitate or to provoke that process, to create a new way of doing things and also support how you implement that. So another example could be they can present, teach or implement new business ideas and procedures. So they may be able to train your staff on how to work within new processes, how to apply new procedures. So that could be reasons why you may need to engage a consultant as if you are an organization manager. So at this point, we want to focus and understand, having understood what consultancy may be about, why you may need it, and how it's relevant to us as information specialists. Then what are the key steps in information consulting? So what are we likely to be doing being in the area of information science? What are we dealing with being consultant in this surface of information? So these we are calling them key steps. There could be other steps or sub-steps or sub-processes, but these are the key ones. So the first thing you do when you're an information consultant, understand. What are you understanding? That's the first step according to that diagram. Understand. You are understanding the organization. You are understanding the client in the process that is the focus of consulting. So understand what is the key question, what is the key issue, what type of a case is this that you're dealing with. If your client is a bank, what you need to understand, or the understanding, the environment is very different from when you go to consult for a microfinance. Both of them are even in the financial sector, but there is a difference because what could be the key issue, what is the case about, and even within that bank, is it about a new product? A product here could be a service or a good, but banks deal with services. So all again, the issue that you're dealing with, is it about a new process? Is it about changing how they do it? Is it about just clarifying how things are done, which could be done verbally as or rather enhancing the communication process? So understand the environment, understand the process you are consulting for. So this one calls for what we say you are an analyst. You become then an analyst, an information analyst, a system analyst. You understand their system, whether digital or manual. You need to understand that environment. Then the next thing you do, or the next step, is question. You start questioning, and now when you question, this is the question that you yourself will help to answer, the gaps that you'll be filling. So what is the information missing? What information is missing? So in this, we think about various models that help organizations to improve their management, like 4C, Porter's models. Those are models that we shall be talking about shortly, and how we learn them better. So, but these are business frameworks or models that enable organizations to understand their environment, that provide a guide. Models will provide a guide on understanding what could be the missing link, what could be the gap. Otherwise, you could lack a focus. So you are going to be applying these models, and all of them are related, or could be an improvement of the other, or could be combined. So what is the information missing? So we are saying you apply relevant models to analyze or to understand what is missing. So we shall be looking at those relevant models later. So ask both qualitative and quantitative questions, so that then as you move to the next stage, you have a framework, you have a focus. And as you go to the third phase, which is analysis, with those questions, then you want to, in the analysis, you want to structure your information. That's what you do. So you do a mind map, you sketch what you have been thinking around, and you could do it visually. That's what you are saying. You structure your information to allow room for brainstorming. Perform, if it is necessary, of course. You may be performing calculations. You may be able, or you need to make assumptions depending on the environment. So these are specific things that will be determined by what you did in the understanding, what you did in the first step. The next stage is about presenting. So now that you have answered the questions, you have made necessary assumptions, now you start packaging what you are going to deliver. You start packaging your deliverable. You start thinking how you are going to present this to your client. So prioritize your recommendation. Remember, it's the advice you are giving. Advice, expert knowledge, as in form of expert knowledge. So prioritize recommendations. Again, we cannot have everything allowed being done at the same time. So prioritize, so be precise and focused. Also, base your recommendations on facts. So we are experts. So what you do, we are going to be later looking at qualities of information that you use in consultancy. So it must be factual. It must be accurate. So it's not about imaginaries or imagined ideas. It must be things that can be reliably established and also achievable or realistically workable. So also examine the implementation issues. How? So I've just said what we are advising on must be realistic, must be practical, must be implementable, must be authentic. So also remember, as you present, you should be as close to practical as possible in terms of outlining or giving the client ideas on the how, or how issues, the implementation. How is your advice implemented or going to be implemented? So it should not just be packaged ideas, but there is no way of where you would start if you want to implement, and what process may be involved. So you must also be able to present to the client or to communicate effectively the implementation aspect, how your ideas are going to be implemented, how your knowledge is going to be implemented. So at this point, as we move close to concluding our session, I want us to remind ourselves, after seeing the relevance of consulting, why would some organizations, why do some firms still avoid consultancy services? Why do firms avoid consultancy services? As good as they could sound, as useful, as relevant as we have said. So why would some firms avoid consultancy? Why are we interested in this first? Because it would mean you as a consultant, you are looking for a job. You are making yourself relevant. So if people are going to avoid you in the first place, we have no job as consultants. So it's important to understand what makes people look for you, because you are packaged as a consultant, and what would deter them. Again, it would also influence how you are able to communicate effectively to persuade for them to overcome these perceptions and thinking that they don't need a consultant advice or expertise. So one reason why it may sound unleashable is because of the cost. So cost. Consultancy, of course, is not a cheap service. So if there is no a budgetary allocation, if there are budgetary implication, so people may avoid that. They may not give it priority, the cost. So there is also another aspect is when there are no stable resources to follow up on the advice given. So sometimes you can say, I can pay a consultant, yes, but the kind of advice they give, of course, has further financial implication for acquiring resources or for implementing what they advise. So still, that may make an organization not go for consultant, because they don't have a budget to implement. They may afford to hire a consultant, but then how will they benefit if they cannot go through the full cycle to implement the advice? So they stop at not requiring or not looking for a consultant. Another point is on there is no guarantee for success if they hire a consultant. So some organizations or some managers will have a perception that how guaranteed are you that the input from the consultant is really going to make a positive change, a tangible change. So they may ignore your services because they feel but your advice does not necessarily mean tangible output, tangible value. So that could be a perception, sometimes it's a reality. So it would also mean that we make consultancy more effective, more persuasive for people to see it positively. Again, the level of confidence for the consultant is low. So this is what we said, it will be one of our topics in terms of what are your strengths and weaknesses. So one area of strength that you must cultivate or put effort is confidence. So when you are not confident, it means then people will not look for you, or you will not be able to sell yourself in the first place. So the level of confidence may also lead, the client may feel they are dealing with a person who is not even sure what they can do. Or even if they have something to do, they are not sure whether they are the right people to do it. So that implies that we cultivate on our skills and as well as our personality. So confidence means you may have the technical skills, expertise, but you are not able to package yourself, you are not able to present yourself, you are not able to communicate to others well on how to utilize or how to gain from your expertise. Another reason could be the consultant himself is not likable or not trusted by the clients. So for it being in this category where you don't look like people who trust you, and then they have no option than to do without you because you are not trusted. Otherwise, if you looked trustworthy, they would be going for that service that you can support them with. So that's what we can say so far today. And again, I want now we focus on something that will make us reflect on what we have done so far, including today, and what we want to be doing in the forthcoming session. And this is in form of an assignment. So this assignment is not a test or a quiz, but it is to help us to shape our mind and the knowledge we are starting to develop in forming that expert that we want. So one thing I want you to research on or to engage in as part of your assignment and before the next lesson is to identify firms that are leading as consultancy firms in Kenya. Most of us, being our environment or in whichever country you reside, identify prominent firms that are engaged in consultancy. Those will give us, or part of them will be part of our, or where we shall draw our case study. So just be familiar with who are those firms. Another question that I want you to answer, and answer as you do deep reading, because we are saying it's not a quiz. So analyze the types of consultancies common in the area of information science and technology. Analyze the types of consultancies. Also explore the key qualities of information that are necessary for effective consultancy. Key qualities of information, we shall be covering that later. So what are the key qualities of information that are necessary for effective consultancy? And lastly, for the as part of the reading, we talked about frameworks. So these frameworks are not necessarily within the field of information science, but they are applicable in other disciplines. So we need to do a lot of reading first to understand them. And then what we shall be doing this class is to bring them or to analyze them or unpack them within our context. But we need to understand the model first. So read about those three models, the Porter's models, 4C model, and the 4P model. So part of the reading will enable you to understand each of those concepts. So that's why I'm not explaining them in the details. Because we'll be reading more and we shall be analyzing them further in a later session. So at this point, we want to end the session. Until the next session, have a good time. Thank you.
Televised lectures supplement our robust online learning going on our MKU online platform. You can view more on our televised lectures via our online platform. We are in a digital era, and Mount Kenya University knows this. The following are the steps to follow so as to complete your online application. Download the application form from the website www.mku.ac.ke. Attach copies of your academic certificates and ID. Pay the application fees via M-Pesa pay bill number 270988. Your ID is the account number. 2,000 shillings is the charge for a postgraduate. You can also deposit in the bank accounts provided on the website. Then email all the above to apply@mku.ac.ke.